Cities, Portland, Oregon. Two teams desperate for a win. AFL on ESPN. Here are the coaches trying to inspire their players in the locker room.
Fourth quarter, fellas. We're going to play on fire, physically, mentally, emotionally. You leave every ounce of energy, every ounce of mental capacity that you've got on that field tonight. Everything you got, fellas. This is a playoff game. Your backs are up the wall, against the wall. What are you going to do? You're going to push back, baby. You're going to push back and you're going to...
Real simple. Dominate the line of scrimmage. Dominate special teams. Skill, both sides of the football. The ball touches our hands, we come away with it, okay? It's time to control our own destiny. Go out there for 60 minutes, take control. Win on three. 1, 2, 3. Win. Let's go, baby.
Our matchup in Portland, Oregon on a Star Wars themed night at the Moda Center. We've got Portland, we've got Spokane, and potentially a playoff berth on the line. AFL on ESPN, the matchup. The Spokane Shock and the Portland Thunder, both with identical 3-8 records. Here's a look at the National Conference standings. The top 4 teams will get in, so tonight has a must-win feel for it for Portland and Spokane. Good evening to everyone. All right, we'll come to you from Portland. Should be a fascinating matchup. These teams met all the way back in week 3, but we'll have 2 different starting quarterbacks tonight, and both these teams are desperate for a victory. I bring in friend and partner Anthony Herron, and Anthony, Carson Kaufman was brought into Spokane to be the starter. They got off to a slow start. He gets benched, but when they lose last weekend, he texts his head coach Andy Olson and says, give me one more chance, and he gets that chance tonight.
Andy Olson apparently listened to him. The main thing that Coach Olson told us he loves about Carson Kaufman as his starting quarterback is the clutch gene. He feels like when they get to those key moments in the game, the critical times when a play has to be made, no matter what Carson Kaufman does before those moments, Andy Olson feels like he's got the confidence that's necessary to get the play made.
And then Arvell Nelson back in a Spokane uniform, and this guy can do a lot of different things to help the Shock.
He's going to have to be the Where's Waldo on each side of the football for the opposing defense from Portland, because Arvell Nelson can play jack, he can play quarterback, he can play wide receiver, and so he'll be the backup QB, but we will see him in a multitude of positions.
For Portland, Alex Carter gets to start at quarterback, does not have a lot of experience, but they have a weapon that helps in all 3 phases of the game, and that's Dwayne Brooks, who's one of the most electrifying return men in the Arena Football League.
For a team that's been in flux at the quarterback position, to have one of the most explosive kick return weapons the AFL has ever seen most certainly factors into the field position and the comfort that the Portland Thunder will have on the offensive side. We could see history tonight, Wolf. Dwayne Brooks already has 6 return touchdowns. If he gets 7, that will tie the single season record.
Looking forward to that, and let's go to the third member of our broadcast team, our Hall of Famer, Seth Bonner.
Thanks, Ari. Down here with Hall of Fame coach Mike Hohensee. Coach, in your 29 years, did you realize the positive effects you had on people throughout the outpouring of affection this week in the last one?
No, it's been amazing. From the players and coaches I've worked with, players and coaches I haven't worked with, the front offices, charity, youth groups, high schools, all those people that you worked with over the last 28 years. It's been amazing. It's really helped the healing process.
Talking about Alex Carter getting his first start tonight, what do you expect him to bring to this game in order to help you guys get this crucial victory?
I'm hoping consistency. You know, it's we just haven't been consistent over the last few weeks, and hopefully he can bring that for us tonight.
Appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks.
Guys?
Thank you very much. We want to pass on our condolences to the Hohensee family. It's been a very challenging week, but I think as Coach expressed, he's got a lot of friends and family, and certainly his AFL family shares in their loss, and we want to wish him strength during these challenging times, and hopefully his team can play inspired football for the home fans here in Portland. Portland wins the toss, and they defer, so they'll get the ball at the start of the third quarter. Anthony Amos is back deep for Spokane. Talented rookie. And muffs it initially. Gets out of the end zone. Here he comes. Anthony Amos finally forced out of bounds at the 17-yard line. Here are the rules of the game. Running clock until the final minute of each half. You see the dimensions of the field. No punting, no outside stunting or twisting is allowed. Ball off the rebound net is live, and one wide receiver may be in forward motion prior to the snap. So we get our first look at Carson Kaufman getting his first start since early May. 4 years in the AFL, 6'3", 215 pounds. Completing just 54% of his passes. started last year for Iowa. In 2013, he was with Chicago. Kaufman puts it up, and a diving attempt. Javen Zambrano, does he hold on? Yes, a fine catch to start the night for the Shock.
That's just a phenomenal grab from that rookie wide receiver. And Zambrano looked for a moment like the ball was being deflected away, but the presence of mind, the concentration necessary to stick with it.
It appears there may be a challenge coming from Mike Hohensee. And we do see the red flag. And the replay in the Arena Football League is completely transparent.
The field of completed pass is being challenged by Portland. The play is under further review.
So this is the call to the booth, and you will hear the conversation between our guys working in our TV truck and with the official as they try to determine whether or not this is a catch. If it is upheld as a catch, Portland will lose a
Okay,
timeout.
we're ready to go. What we're looking for here is any shot that shows us giving the ball hitting the ground without player control. If we have that, we will reverse the play. If not, then we'll see. Okay, no ball yet, no ball, no ball, no ball. All right, that ball's coming out. Let's go back. Do you have another shot for me? We want to take a look at it. All right, he's moving the ball. Give one more look. That'd be great. We're looking to see if there's any ball movement when it hits the ground. Give me the first shot again, if you would, please. Slow motion, thanks. We're looking for ball movement when the ball hits the ground. We're looking for no control. There it is right there. We're going to reverse this call to an incomplete pass because he does not have control of the ball.
It's a great listen to get Dave Kataya. The college football fans around the country get to hear him quite a bit as well. He's actually the rules expert that ESPN uses during their college football coverage.
After further review, the pass is incomplete. Portland is not charged with a timeout or a challenge. It will be second down and 10 at the previous spot.
So no catch. Appeared our first look at it in live action that Zambrano was able to hold on to the football.
It was certainly close. It was a great effort by Zambrano.
Let's go tight right.
A good challenge
tight
there
right,
early because that, of course,
37.
would have been a very big play, a huge gain for the Spokane offense when you're looking to get some rhythm and some energy coming out of the huddle early.
Right, A back, 30 fail on 2. Ready, 3.
Second and 10. Zambrano, the motion receiver. Kaufman throws, and there was two bodies tangled up there. Odiasi has been playing well in the secondary, number 4 for Portland. Leads the team in tackles, passes defended.
$166 on 2. Ready, 3.
One of the advantages we have is our access in the AFL. You'll be able to hear Carson Kaufman call the plays tonight. Kaufman's going to step up, looking for Truesdale. He's got it, takes it for 6. Touchdown Shock.
You see the secondary from the Portland Thunder complaining about a push-off. Nick Truesdale at 6'7", about 240 pounds, and so the accuracy has been inconsistent from Kaufman this season. Doesn't really need to be so pinpoint. You've got a target of that size downfield with Truesdale. It does appear there was a little nudge, at least with that left arm, sort of forcing Odiasi to continue his momentum by.
But Truesdale's 6'7", 240. I mean, he doesn't even really notice the guy. He's just like a mosquito. He just shoves him aside. So Truesdale gets the touchdown. He has really come on of late, playing the best football of his AFL career. He had 3 touchdown catches last week. He's been hot. Now 13 receiving touchdowns on the season.
Truesdale, he's still a very young football player, only in his second year in the Arena Football League. So with that frame, initially coaches certainly look at him as being a red zone target. Andy Olson knows the growth of Nick Truesdale with the injuries that this team has had at wide receiver will certainly show the path this offense can go.
For the latest news, scores, and stats, log on to arenafootball.com. Whether you want to check out special features on the league's brightest stars or watch live games via the ESPN3 video player, arenafootball.com is where it's at. Let's check in with Sid Bonner. What do you think of the throw there from Carson Kaufman? I am not hearing Sid Bonner at the moment. We will try to get to him in a moment. I see him there holding his microphone. I just can't hear him. Yeah.
I spy Sid Bonner.
I'm talking to Jay Howard down here. So.
Okay. What do you think, Sid? What do you think of the throw and the catch there?
The throw we don't need to talk about, but when you got 6'7", it's all good, baby.
No style points on the throw
No
for you?
way. It looked like you kicked it.
Brooks, that is a live football. Fight for it. Spokane saying they've got it. Whoever might have had it 10 seconds ago might not have it anymore.
All right.
They're getting after it.
You know how things operate in professional football during these scrums. Getting up from the pile is Christian Wise with the Spokane shot.
Ball was recovered. First down. Okay.
Well, last night we were in Los Angeles doing the Philadelphia-Los Angeles game. Clinton Ozell talked about how with arena football, with the iron on kicks, you never know what's going to happen. And this is some early adversity for the home team.
See, for the first time, Arvell Nelson down here inside the 5. Athleticism will be on display.
On the quarterback keeper, he gets in. Touchdown shock. Welcome back, Arvell Nelson. He is quite an athlete. 6'5", 225 pounds. Played college ball at Texas Southern. Played with the Pittsburgh Power last year. Started most of the time at the jack linebacker spot. But Andy Olson said it quite clearly. He said when he gets on the field, he's already our best athlete.
Got an Adrian McPherson sort of look to it, the way he can, with that rangy frame, still have the power to get behind his pads.
Taylor Rowan, extra point is good, and just like that, Spokane off to a 14-0 lead. We will take a break. We'll see what happens on the next kickoff, and perhaps we will see the Portland offense when we come back to the Moda Center.
Welcome back to the Moda Center in Portland. Spokane shocked with an early 14-0 lead. They've got a bar ball. Quick, fast start is exactly what the doctor ordered for this team. They've struggled, but they've got off to the right kind of start for them to get this game going. Let's get it back up to Ari.
Thank you very much, Sid. Spokane suffering through a 3-game losing streak. Portland has lost 4 straight. But again, both these teams very much in the mix for the postseason. And frankly, there's a chance both could get in. Still a lot of football left to be played in this 2015 season. And Brooks will get no, that was a quick whistle. I mean, don't they know that he's got 6 kickoff returns for touchdowns? We want to see that guy. Huh.
You know, Thunder fans here at the Moda Center disappointed as well.
Yeah.
Got a couple of boo birds out here. I want to see Dwayne Brooks.
I can support that booing. I want to see him run it back. All right, Alex Carter. Only appeared in 2 games this year. Stats are okay.
Here we go. Wing right, wing yo, 391 hitch, wing jack. Yeah, I want it.
Left.
6'2", 220 pounds. Played at Western Michigan.
Go.
Carter delivers, and it's through the hands of Jared Perry. Now, this is a Portland team you and I saw in Orlando, and it's a group of receivers that can be inconsistent. They don't always make easy catches. They make a lot of tough catches. With Alex Carter tonight, it's really going to be on the receivers to make plays for their quarterback.
Right, HO, 42 smash, S sluggo. I want it.
So this smash concept on the wide side of the field, you see multiple receivers running in cutting routes.
Go.
Carter pump fake. Now he's going to go up over the top. There's all kinds of holding on Jeff Richards. Richards was going to be beat up the right sideline by Maurice Williams. Better than giving up the touchdown.
Yeah, agreed. That's how I used to coach it defensively here in the AFL.
Pass interference defense. Number 23, 10-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
There was some pressure. It didn't lead to a sack, but you're just looking to collapse the pocket, make the quarterback uncomfortable. It's Terrence Taylor in the nose position. He's one of the more active people at that position in the league. Some jostling downfield between Jeff Richards and Maurice Williams.
Go! Set!
First and 10, quick screen. And good blocks, gain of 9 on first down. Perez Ashford, a rookie, played college ball at a rising program, Northern Illinois.
As Carter takes the pull from center, this looks like a very simple play, and it should be, but why it's executed well there is because the pass is quick and accurate. You have wide receivers out in space blocking.
Second and short. John Martinez, the fullback, don't be fooled by the offensive lineman body. He can run with the football, and he's got it. And he will work very hard to be just shy of the first down. But we've seen him catch it. We've seen him run with the football, and at USC, he didn't get to touch the ball. I think he's enjoying his time in the AFL, and even Coach Owens, he said he thinks Martinez might be surprised with his own athleticism.
We're seeing, as we mentioned in the open, this start from Carter. Kyle Rowley, one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the Arena Football League, and we just saw there. He's got an Arena Bowl championship in his back pocket. But his productivity has gone down in recent years.
That is picked off. Tackle is made. It's going to be first and goal. Sergio Gilliam in the right place, right time. That thing was gift wrapped.
It's where you have to be as a jack, eyeballing the quarterback. Coverage can dictate which side of the box you'll be rotating to as a jack with that freedom to go sideline to sideline. And Gilliam, the entire way, Carter, as he takes the pull from center, showing, dictating where he's delivering the football to. Gilliam immediately goes there, gets underneath the zone, makes an outstanding catch.
First and goal at the 6, and there is Alex Carter. And I'm just wondering how soon we might see Kyle Rowley.
We got the one.
Kyle did not play well in their loss last week. Coffin 1 for 3 so far, 33 yards and a touchdown, and the fullback, Rory Nixon, a little anxious that time.
Ball start offense, number 51 and 42. 5-yard penalty. It does remain first down.
It's an interesting question you mentioned there about the quarterback position. You see here the hard count. Fullback Rory Nixon certainly moves first before the defense comes across. Running Sluggo just outside the 10-yard line. The snap go opportunity. Ball has to come out quickly.
Coffin on time. Nick Truesdale, touchdown shot. Touchdown's good. We lost Nick Truesdale, but Truesdale's going to come back as well. Some target he is at 6'7".
At least he went into a friendly neighborhood.
Yes.
You're not always sure where you're going to end up when you go flying over the boards and make a catch. There's worse places you can go than ending up in your own bench area. You see DBs do that. Oliasi trying to use the boards as that additional defender to see if you can jar the ball loose. Truesdale able to hang on.
Great start for Nick Truesdale. 2 touchdowns already here in the first quarter. Extra point is good. The Spokane Shock have come in here, made plays, and have silenced the crowd here in Portland. Here's the interception by Gillian, and then they come right back to Truesdale. Big target, reels it in before he goes to see his friend to the bench. Some people haven't even gotten comfortable in their seats, and it's 21-0 Spokane.
This has not been an explosive offense for Spokane this season, and honestly, they haven't had to be that explosive in tonight's game. You think about the additional possession they picked up off the barbell. They've gotten enough. Not a thing of beauty when Carson Coughlin throws the football. He's got into Truesdale in good spots.
Brooks, that's a free football. It's loose. Fight for it. Spokane saying they have it. Now it hit the sideboard, and the official is ruling it Portland football. And for the sake of having a competitive game, I think it's the right call.
Possession. The kick ball hit the sideboard.
28-0 doesn't sound good.
The ball is dead. The play results in the touch. Will be placed on the 5-yard line. First down, Portland.
Good explanation there from Dave Katai, because on a special team snap, any kick game play, the ball dribbles over to the wall. Now, if that were a play from scrimmage, a regular offensive or defensive snap, then the sideboard is live. We'll see how Carter responds. Got to stay in rhythm. Being down 3 scores in arena football, as you and I know, isn't that big of a deal.
Go! Set!
It's a nice move there. Dwayne Brooks just get him the football. Let's go check it with Sid.
Hey, thanks, Ari. This is a little weird. 6'7", 6'5", interview at 6'7", 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. Tell me how comfortable you are playing this arena game and getting into your routes and learning all those little things that make you a better player.
Well, I got a great coach and I got a great group of guys surrounding me. I was new last year. Spent all off-season studying, getting with coach, working extra. He's helped me to be able to study film, learn how to read tendencies of other players with coverages and all that, and it's all paying off now. Just keep working hard and keep getting better every week.
Good job. Keep it up. Thanks, guys.
He is starting to fulfill the potential that has been talked about since he signed with the Spokane Shock. And everyone's just been waiting for this guy to be a breakout star, and it's coming around. And this has got to be really fun for the Spokane fans, because Sid and I were in Spokane for their last 2 home games. Both those games, they were down 3 scores in those games. Ultimately, they fought their way back into it. But this one, a very different story in the early going. Alex Carter, 3rd and short. He is a threat to run the football. And Carter's going to step up. He's still looking. Now he'll throw, and it's behind Dwayne Brooks.
I don't mind the mechanics that I'm seeing from a footwork standpoint so far. He's had a little bit of difficulty with the pull from center, but they're continuing to shuffle and stay in a throwing posture. But the accuracy has been a big issue here early in the game for Alex Carter.
Far right wing yo, 374, Jackie Wall, wing hitch, on 1, ready? 10, here we go.
Plenty of verbiage in the Mike Hohensee offense.
Go! Set!
Carter throws, not a very accurate throw, but the catch is made, and just enough to pick up a first down on 4th down for Jared Perry, the former AFL Rookie of the Year when he was with the Chicago Rush.
Mike Hohensee told us the main thing he was wanting from Alex Carter was consistency. What we've seen so far in this game is him being consistently inaccurate with the football, but he's calling simple enough plays
Swap right,
where these
HO,
should be
74,
completed on the money.
HQ, Q, H stop, SQ and up. Hold on, ready?
He's still reading that play call. Want to make sure he's got it right. 1st and 10. Carter's in trouble. He'll go down. Derek Summers, the sack, his 5th of the season. 5th-year man, played his college ball at Toledo. Very good at rushing the passer.
It starts inside where Terrence Taylor with the swim move initially is what makes Carter drop his eyes from the pass route. And once that happens, you have to pay so much attention to the nose on that penetration. It ends up being a 2-for-1. And so while Summers gets credited with the sack, it's really Terrence Taylor that set it up by picking up so much attention for the pass protection.
Terrence Taylor was a beast last week. A couple of sacks in their loss to Las Vegas. But his quickness was on display as Perry makes a nice catch right up against the boards. Richard Dodd Masters pushes him into the board. There's a little pat on the backside.
But Cedric Bonner is obviously right there getting to see up close and personal the mechanics of Alex Carter. The strength of the arm set seems impressive, but mechanically, what are you seeing so far?
Well, it looks like his base is a little too wide when he's throwing, so his balls are a little bit inaccurate. That right there was the best throw of the night for him. Over the jack, dropped in the nice bench route. He's got all the tools. It's about settling down against this ferocious pass rush, making plays.
Carter on 3rd down, finds Dwayne Brooks. And Brooks into Spokane territory, and a late hit comes in. And that's not going to make Andy Olson very happy. And there is Andy Olson's done an outstanding job as head
After
coach.
the play was over, personal foul, offense. Number 73, a late hit. That's a 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. However, the yardage was gained enough to create a first down, so it will be 1st and 10.
My apologies. I thought it was on the defense. Andy Olson will be quite okay with this call. Let's have another look.
Well, you like the offensive lineman coming in and hustling towards the plate.
I thought they were going to get Richards because he just kind of piled on, but Longo came in there well after the play.
Wing left, wing yellow, 341 stale, S slant.
And coach is not used to losing. Since he became the head coach, he had Eric Meyer at quarterback. They did a lot of winning. Perennial playoff team.
Go.
Carter. And Gilliam was tracking that. Mo Williams was the intended target, but the ball was well behind him. Do you think now that they've got Gilliam guessing that they could actually use it against him because it appears he's trying to eye that slant route regularly or that one out in the flat, that maybe you pump fake them there and you get something down the middle of the field?
Could be, but with so much man coverage is being played on the back end from Spokane, it does allow a little bit more freelance from the Jack linebacker where he can sort of try to just eyeball the quarterback.
Go.
Carter moves to his left, throws downfield. Jared Perry's open. Can he hold on? Yes! Touchdown, Thunder.
First score of the night comes at a necessary time for the Portland Thunder offense. Jared Perry, the most dependable receiver they have at this point, allowing Alex Carter to do what he loves to do, show off that big arm. Perry's got the speed and the route running ability to get behind the rookie Mike McMillan.
Kevin Gosling on for the extra point. It is up and good. So Portland gets on the board. Just 52 seconds to go in the opening quarter. But this should build some confidence. Jared Perry right up against the backboards. Great catch, and Carter likes it. Well, Alex Carter, that should build a little bit of confidence. Very well-thrown football.
You know at this point that the job is wide open, and even though Kyle Rowley is a very experienced quarterback, he's got a great AFL resume, but he didn't perform that well when he was in the lineup, and so there should be some freedom for Alex Carter to go in. If he makes mistakes, come back and respond. Mike Hohensee has to be happy with the response there on the previous drive.
Well, this is as a team, they've thrown 18 interceptions, and Kyle Rowley's thrown 15 of them. And that's going to be a touchback if the ball touched off, or just glanced off those backboards in the back part of the end zone on any kick, the ball is immediately dead. So Carson Kaufman hasn't had to do too much so far. He's 2 for 4, 44 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Nick Truesdale. Spokane has only had to run 5 plays so far.
Here we go. We got rack right, R zoom, 30 cut, A bubble right on one.
Seeing a similar approach offensively from both teams, trying to have the ability to get their quarterback in rhythm early on.
Quick screen. Jabin Zambrano able to pick up 5 yards, and in all likelihood will be the final play of the first quarter. Well, we've been looking forward to coming here. Sunday night AFL on ESPN from the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. People are having a good time. That's commitment right there. I want to see Anthony come dressed like that just once. We'll be right back.
Nimble.
And look at that. We've been welcomed here.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, I mean, that feels pretty good. We haven't been here to Portland in quite some time. They keep making signs. We'll come back.
That's some commitment right there. I love that. So not only welcoming the AFL on ESPN, but you, myself, said, nice little shout out there.
Michael and Abigail Summers responsible for that. Nice signage there. Welcome us here to this fine city of Portland. Completion there.
They should have hit you up to get even better seats. I mean, they've got a good vantage point from where they are.
Hit me up? How about hit you up? I mean, you got more pull than me.
We need to see some pull here from this pass rush of the Portland Thunder. Try to get home. Apply some pressure to Carson Kaufman. Kaufman not the most nimble guy, but he was a star at Kansas State University. Used his legs quite a bit in his college career as well.
Kaufman going to Truesdale. The trifecta in the first half. 3 touchdowns for Nick Truesdale.
The pass rush for Portland has just been shut down and shut out throughout this first half so far. For a quarterback who's struggled with accuracy this season in Carson Kaufman, they haven't been able to get him off the spot. They haven't been able to make him feel uncomfortable at any point. It's just asking too much of your secondary, and Portland is basically sort of an AMC defense, always man coverage. That's what they've turned into this season. So the reads are very simple for Kaufman. It's just about putting the ball in a position where the receiver can make a play.
Just squeaks in 28-7, early second quarter, and Nick Truesdale. He has been the stud thus far. Reels in his 3rd touchdown catch of the night. We're coming right back to the Moda Center. Beautiful shot of downtown Portland. Beautiful day, and happy Father's Day to everyone out there. This father is currently ignoring his son, but I'm feeling they're normally quite close. Normally they're real tight bond. Busy right now.
Do you want to send a shout out to JJ? Is JJ at home watching right
JJ's
now?
at home watching, yeah. And Sid, of course, a proud father of 2. Happy Father's Day, Sid. Dwayne Brooks, could this be number 7? Dwayne Brooks brought down by Nick Truesdale at the 19-yard line. Little Iron Man football there for Truesdale.
Well, I'm not going to leave my dad out of the mix. Robert
Please
Aaron.
don't.
Everyone, we kind of went around the horn there. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
You raised a good one.
Offensively for the Portland Thunder, with Alex Carter back in here, he at least hit the one long pass on the previous drive. So there's been a sensibility now of having a successful series last time out. If Spokane will continue to show man coverage, there's no reason for Carter to not continue throwing the deep ball. Protection has to hold up.
Quick screen. And a gain of 6 on first down. Perez Ashford still learning the AFL game in his first season.
And said you worked with Mike Hohensee a lot. You know his offense. For him, working with this young quarterback, what do you think is important to try and get Carter in rhythm?
I think to do what he's been doing right now is the quick passes, the screens, the slants, the hitches, to help him get in a rhythm. But if, like you said earlier, Ann, if Spokane's going to give him some man looks, he's got to be able to drop back and take that shot downfield and not be afraid to do it.
Carter feeling pressure, moves to his left, takes off, tucks it, and gets close to the first down. He put that ball away like a running back there.
And my sense, certainly be happy to hear Sed's take on it too. I felt like maybe he tucked it away a little too early, didn't stay in that quarterback posture, but he was able to pick up the first down.
Right, well, there was pressure coming up the middle, and you know Terrence Taylor can provide plenty of that, and I'm sure he watched film and saw the complete body slams that were going on last week, and Terrence Taylor didn't want any part of that.
Sid and I were talking about it on a regular basis last week. I'd never seen Terrence Taylor so fast. I mean, his finishing speed's impressive. Carter did a tuck and run. I'm not sure whether that was by design. It almost looked like he stood there.
It was a fake. Yeah. It was a fake screen, Ari, and it didn't work. They didn't buy it. They stayed back in their zone. Spokane doing a really nice job staying back on defense. So he just tucked it right there. He had no choice. Had to do that.
Go bottom 18.
Here we go. Kiss right, H flat, 91, H sail, read under. On one, ready?
7 route coming towards the corner. It'll be Jared Perry with the opportunity, depending on coverage, could have a touchdown chance.
Perry on the screen. Can he make a guy miss? No. Dodd Masters a sure tackle after a gain of 3. It'll bring up 3rd and 4.
We run off the coverage up top. Perry being the safety valve down here. Well played out in space. Rashad Dodd Masters. He was the middle safety for this team in recent weeks. They've moved him out now to the field corner. So we'll see him more involved in tackling, being in the action.
We'll see how well Mike McMillan does tonight, playing middle safety, number 26. Mo Williams attacks him, and Millen got a hand on the football, could not come up with the interception. But they're very high on McMillan. In fact, Andy Olson said that he waited too long to sign him. Felt like they should have got him in here sooner, because they have struggled to find consistency in the secondary.
And I'm not seeing receivers getting a lot of separation here, for the Portland Thunder. But Jared Perry,
wing left, wing
mentioned earlier how impressive
Sale,
the start of his career was. He was the Rookie of the Year in the Arena Football League. Sort of got lost in the shuffle for a number of years with the Arizona Rattlers. He's the most experienced, the most explosive guy they have. He's
in motion. Carter targets him, and that is picked off. McMillan makes the play, gets up, and gets it out to the 7-yard line.
Late on that throw, Ant. You can see it from up there. If you see your guy open from this distance in here, from the 15 to the 20, it's too late. You got to get that ball up before he comes out of his break. Great play by McMillan.
Carter not at the point of making the anticipatory throws. You can tell what coverage will dictate. So to be able to take that pull, not take a full 3, take a step, maybe step and a half back, get the ball out of your hands in a timely manner. Excellent eyes there from McMillan, playing that middle safety position. We just talked about Andy Olson having the confidence in him to put him there because it's the most difficult spot in the secondary to play.
Kaufman's been very efficient. 3 touchdown passes, all to Nick Truesdale. Sid, I want to bring you in. Kyle Riley, we know, has struggled as the starting quarterback for Portland. They want to give Alex Carter a chance. But at what point do you consider bringing Carter out of the game and going back to Kyle Riley?
I know there can't be another possession without points. I mean, that's a fact of the matter.
Number 99, the incorrect linebacker blitz. That's a 5-yard penalty, and it's also an automatic first down.
There can't be another possession without points. And they also need that defense to get a stop. Right now, they're not putting any kind of pressure on Kaufman, not making it tough for him back there. They're allowing him to sit back and relax and just play easy football. They've got to stop playing man-to-man on the back end. Change it up.
It appears Portland jumped. This could be a free play, and they go deep downfield. That was almost picked off, ruled incomplete. Said, I'm curious at what the energy is like down in the bench area, because it's a Portland team that's come out really flat. We know their head coach has dealt with an emotional week. What is your sense of the vibe down in the Portland bench?
It kind of feels like they're trying to ride the thing out. We're on the Spokane side, very excited. The other side, they're trying to ride it out and buy their time. It almost seems like they're a super veteran team that just feels like they can get it going, and they're not that yet. Key chance there for them to make a play right there, and they didn't make it.
Kaufman, Wise has got a step and the football. Christian Wise to the paint, touchdown, Spokane.
For a team that plays this much man, as the Portland Thunder secondary does, you rarely see receivers this open. They gave it a bit more of a cloud look in that scenario as Wise ran through what initially looks like man, and then they dropped back, had more of a bail sort of zone look to it. A lot of rookies on the field right now for the Thunder defense.
Taylor Rowan stays perfect on the night. We still have almost half of the second quarter, and Spokane already with 35 points. So twice tonight they've come up with interceptions, and then they've immediately gotten points out of it. Very efficient first half for Carson Kaufman as he finds Christian Wise for the touchdown. Kyle Rowley warming up Anthony. What would you do in this situation?
I'd leave Alex Carter in the lineup. I've seen plenty of Kyle Rowley, not even just this season, but when you think about the fact that he's a very veteran AFL quarterback.
That's off the iron, loose football. It's secured by Portland, and off to the races is Ashford. Great return, Perez Ashford. And Kyle Rowley, yes, is coming into the game. The veteran quarterback in his 6th year. He has won an AFL title back in 2010 with the Spokane Shock, and there's Carter, and that was a short leash. Lasted a quarter and a half.
And at this point, it makes it very difficult to go back to Carter. I mean, you know, would there be any reason to, since he performed so badly throughout the first half? Maybe not, but you've seen Kyle Rowley. You know that he's become such a turnover-prone QB. I would have gone into the half, at least in my opinion, before making this move.
Rowley throws, looking for Perry. Touchdown, Thunder. Little electricity off the bench from Kyle Rowley.
You know he's got the quick release. There's never been an issue with his reads, especially when he's gotten it going. Kyle Rowley has been a very accurate quarterback. On the corner route there, getting the ball out of his hands quickly to Jared Perry. The ceiling of Rowley has been very high throughout his AFL career. The word consistency applies to what you're looking for a quarterback. You might see Carter continue to try to go with it, but a big play, stepping into the lineup early. You're looking at a playoff opportunity on the line. The more veteran signal caller back into the lineup for the Portland Thunder. A little life, a little juice here at the Motor Center.
One of the College World Series Finals Monday at 8 Eastern on ESPN. Shock fans have made the trip. Two states bordering one another. Imagine that's still a pretty good drive. Like
If there's any fan base in the Arena Football League willing to make that drive, it's certainly the Spokane Shock fans.
They have one of the best home field advantages in the Arena Football League. And they've, early on, taken the crowd out of the game. Now, just now, there's a little bit of life, but silenced the crowd early, leading 21-0. And that kick not going to please Mike Hohensee.
We've seen Nick Truesdale using that big frame, the physicality he can bring to the game. He's been matched up with this Thunder secondary. So far, they have had no answer. The second consecutive contest, 3 touchdowns already for Truesdale. Potentially the future of the wide receiver corps for the Spokane Shock. You think about the fact that Mike Washington, who was their leading receiver, left with an Achilles injury. Shock Carter has been out for several weeks now with an injury as well. Truesdale has had to emerge.
Kaufman, touch ball, looking for Christian Wise. Great throw, and a flag comes in.
Pass incomplete. Intended for number 4.
When you find yourself in the chase mode as a defensive back,
that's a 10-yard penalty.
Pulled down on the hand of Wise.
First down.
See him there, kind of pulled down on Wise's hand before, then end up face guarding at the end.
Sid, our resident quarterback guru, I know you coached the position, you played it as well as anybody ever. Kaufman, 6 for 9, 127 yards and 4 touchdowns. I know you may not love the way the ball looks coming out, but what do you think of his performance thus far?
I don't care about that stuff. I care about him completing the passes that are there. He's doing a really nice job of reading and taking what they're giving him. And as soon as I say that, he tries to give it away.
And we've got a touchdown as Truesdale somehow catches the football, and that's touchdown number 4 for Nick Truesdale.
You start off on one hand trying to figure out how did Matt Pierce not at least get a deflection on this play, let alone the ball ends up getting through what's essentially his body. And then Truesdale has the presence of mind to come up with the grab. He almost caught it on accident.
That is something. I mean, It bounced off his body 4 or 5 times before he secured it.
He almost didn't know it was there, it seemed.
This is Carson's night. He should go play the lottery as soon as this thing's over. Rowan connects. 42 first-half points for Spokane. And Nick Truesdale, he's saying it's Sunday night, but I'm still a candidate for the Offensive Player of the Week.
AFL After Dark, some weird things have been happening.
This is surreal. What? He's not even looking at the ball.
He thought Pierce had the interception. He didn't know.
He's like, what's this crawling up my arm? What?
Pierce can't believe it either.
But Truesdale, 4 catches, 90 yards, 4 touchdowns.
He can do no wrong. Kaufman, who, like you mentioned, certainly doesn't have a pretty throwing motion. The ball wobbles on him quite a bit when it comes out, but it doesn't matter if you get it to the right colored jersey.
I mean, does he even need to stretch? Arena Football League action returns Friday, July 10th. The Voodoo look for a very tough win on the road against one of the best in the AFL, the San Jose SaberCats. New Orleans versus San Jose Friday, July 10th at 11 Eastern on ESPN2 and watch ESPN. 42-14. That score is stunning.
Thunder defense isn't going to come up with much more than this. Certainly incumbent upon Kyle Rowley to get hot here. Because he will be the quarterback to take it the distance.
Dwayne Brooks. It's a block. Still on his feet across the 15 and brought down at the 21-yard line. Nice return from Dwayne Brooks.
The guy who puts the ball in the end zone as often as Brooks does.
I mean, this has got to be SportsCenter top 10 right here. I just love his reaction. What?
It's almost like a Wide World of Sports moment from back in the old ABC days. I mean, you're just wondering, how did the ball get through? And then once it got there, Truesdale appeared to not even realize he had an opportunity for the catch until it was in his hands.
Anthony Amos slow to get up. He is now walking gingerly over to the Spokane bench area. Kyle Rowley, who came in for just one play, that's all he needed. 19 yards and a touchdown. Woo! And there's Truesdale.
I love you, Mama. Love you, Dad. Love you, Mom.
That's a real good ratio of catches to receiving touchdowns.
That is literally all he does is catch touchdowns, at least tonight.
He's going to change the whole, it's a Chris Carter thing into it's a Nick Truesdale thing. Rowley going deep, looking for Perry. He's got it. Touchdown Thunder. Let's see if the quarterback question's been answered.
It certainly has for the moment. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns for Rowley. I mean, he's a veteran signal caller, there's no doubt about it. He's shown throughout his career the toughness necessary to stand in against the pass rush. The turnover bugaboo that has haunted Kyle Rowley for several seasons now, not on display here early in his time in the contest.
Low snap. Carter able to hold it nicely. Extra point is good. Back to a 3-score game, 42-21. 2:46 to go in the first half.
When you get this version of Rowley, he looks like a top-flight signal caller. I mean, we've all, between yourself, Zed, me, we've seen the best of Kyle Rowley on the field when he's been playing top-flight football. Remember him being the MVP of Arena Bowl 23 when the Spokane Shock won it back in 2010. I mean, especially when he got playmakers around him. He has played a high quality of football, but for several seasons now, he hasn't looked like that Rowley at home.
And I want to bring in Seth as well. Interesting here, guys, that if we look at the AFL news and know San Jose has clinched the Pacific, the Soul lead the American Conference, and the South Division the closest in all of the Arena Football League with 3 teams in a half game of each other, including the Orlando Predators. And we last saw Kyle Rowley come in off the bench. We really saw a lack of energy from his teammates. A far different story tonight. What are you sensing down there, Sid?
Well,
when I'm watching him, they're giving him straight man-to-man. And as Anthony mentioned, he is a veteran. He's going to kill you when you give him those easy looks. He's able to drop back on time and get rid of the ball. He can be really great, but the ugly Cal Raleigh can come out and be really bad. But right now, he's got him energized and excited to be playing since they had 0 going early on.
That's off the iron. Thunder could use this one. Loose ball into the end zone. Smart play by Spokane. That was Truesdale, got a hand on it, pushed it into the sideboards. It'll be Spokane football as he continues his brilliant first half.
We've seen him play defensive back as well, and Nick Truesdale can do a bit of everything. He's there and has the presence of mind to realize no one's coming up. Well, he's got the most ball juggling experience here
yes.
out of anyone else. We've seen the deflected pass lead to touchdowns for him.
Which results of the play is a dead ball and a touchback. 1st and 10 on the 5.
Carson Kaufman, 7 for 10, 147 yards and 5 touchdowns.
You certainly wouldn't know it by watching the ball leave his hands.
Right. But like I said, can't argue with success. It's getting to where it needs to be. And he double clutches that one. And Christian Wise cannot make the catch. They're saying it was deflected that allowed the defender to make contact before the ball got there.
When Kaufman left Manhattan, Kansas, he had the program record for career completion percentage. So while the mechanics are
inside 30 hits on one, great over.
I read that same thing in the notes. More than 63% completion rate at Kansas State. Kaufman on time, and Zambrano, I think, sensed someone was going to tackle him and sort of started to lean backwards. Seabass Field is the place to be this coming Saturday as the Jacksonville Sharks host the Cleveland Gladiators, 2 of the top teams in the American Conference. Should be a good battle, 7 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. Feel like going to Jacksonville next weekend?
Why not?
Okay, I'll meet you there.
Flying or
like how you
ride?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a ride. Kaufman, Zambrano the catch. Zambrano cuts it back and tackled inside the 10. There is a flag back at the 12-yard line.
Number 2.
Illegal defense, number 7. The defensive end drifted downfield. That penalty's declined. 1st down. 1-minute timing rules are now in effect. Both teams have 3 timeouts remaining. This is a media timeout.
He did all my work for me right there. He explained everything. We're at the 1-minute warning. We will take a break. We'll come back and explain the 1-minute timing rules in a moment. Yes, Doug. That's well played. He's been on it 2 nights in a row. Great catch. How about Nick Truesdale? Have another.
Is he 5 for 5 now?
5 for 5.
They seem to be getting maybe even more impressive every time, by the way, because the degree of difficulty on this touchdown grab maybe outshines even the previous one with all the deflections.
I'm not going to agree with you there. I still think that bizarre one that rolled up his arm.
Well, that one was more of an accident than anything, though. This was on purpose, running into traffic, knowing you were going to be sandwiched in between 2 defenders who wanted to take your head off, and being willing to hold on to the football. I was more impressed with this one. The last one was fun.
Yes, I see your point. And I'd like to note that they average 48.7 points per game, and they have 49 in the first half. Could we see 100 tonight?
I wouldn't bet on it, but they are.
Well, let's just assume you won't be gambling on any of the games.
They're on a great pace.
Shot, baby, shot nation, we
a
go.
realistic pace. And Portland has not shown any ability to stop them.
Are you calling your shot? You're
no,
expecting 100?
I'm just here to create
After
conversation.
the play was over, personal foul, late hit, number 51 offense. The try is good. That penalty will be enforced on the first scrimmage play after the kickoff.
So since Doug brought it up, just to go back to his point, yes, to answer his question, new suit. New as of roughly 2 hours ago, to be completely honest.
It looks custom made. How'd you get it done so quickly?
Just as an update to the folks on Twitter and Facebook who are wondering, I still don't have my luggage yet. It is apparently in process. I get a text every couple of hours from said airline letting me know that it is en route.
And I want to give you some travel advice in the future. There is a direct flight from Los Angeles to Portland. It's an option if it comes up again.
They have those. They do exist. They do exist.
They do exist. Yeah, figure, make your life a little easier. But now you have a brand new suit. Now, Sid, how do you feel about the new wardrobe from your big friend?
I think it's pretty sharp. It goes kind of with the gray theme that we've all kind of got going.
Yeah,
You know what he was
triplets
doing.
tonight.
You're not wearing gray. That's not gray.
He needed to upgrade his his suit look, so he got a new one today.
I'm sure somebody else will pick up the tab for the new suit.
Was that an offer?
If it comes to me, I'll consider it. I'm hoping someone else will step in.
All right, things are looking up.
Yeah.
I'm like the Spokane Shock. Things are hot right now.
Onside kick. They want another possession. Nick Truesdale almost had it. John Martinez comes up with it. The first thing tonight that Nick Truesdale tried to do that wasn't successful.
They were offside big time. That wasn't even close. They were like at the 5-yard line.
With 48 seconds remaining in the half here, for folks wondering why he would attempt that, it was obviously a very big lead for Spokane.
The carryover foul from the try will now be inferred. Personal foul on the kicking team. After this, the goal, it is a first down.
Well, we could hear Dave just fine. Yeah.
Carryover foul from before, in case you didn't get it in.
Well, I heard him. He was just, I didn't see his face, but I did hear him.
He was just focused on who's going to pay for his suit. He was distracted for a moment.
Still stewing about that. Who to send the bill to? I think maybe United.
Ouch.
Well,
Wow.
we
Now it's got personal.
We weren't going to call names.
That could really hurt your 1K status right there. That could be in jeopardy. Rowley to the big fella on time. McCullough the catch. Touchdown Thunder.
Mathematically, well, go
I
ahead,
don't know if
Seth.
you could see it, Ed, but Dwayne Brooks came down and set a pick on the defensive player, which allowed the tight end to get out in the flat wide open. It's a well-designed play, and they performed it to perfection right there. Easy throw and catch.
QB1, not a rub. You're going,
No,
you're going defensive terminology
I'm
here.
going to say pick.
I like
Wow.
it.
Pick.
There we go. Seth's coming full circle now.
Pretty soon you'll be rooting for offense. I won't know what to do with the two of you.
Well, it's easy to forget how versatile an athlete Seth was at one point. What, he played like 8 sports at Cal, Angelo, San, Fresno State,
Or Northridge, just Northridge.
It was one of those.
Four sports.
Wow. Hey, man. Cal State, University, Northridge.
Say it with some respect.
Get it right. CSUN.
Cal and Fresno stand. But strategically,
We get the ball going to the, where'd you go to Iowa?
Yeah.
Hawkeyes?
one of those.
Yeah.
But strategically,
Whatever.
the reason that onside kick, even though it didn't work out for the Spokane Shock, this is the position Andy Olson wanted to put himself back in because you've still got nearly 44 seconds on the clock. And so the onside was attempted, you didn't get it. But now Portland is not the team controlling the remainder of the half here. Spokane has the opportunity to get the football back. So they had a touchdown to go onside. The drive came to a head very quickly. So even though it ended in a touchdown for the Portland Thunder, now the Spokane Shock offense can take the field again, and they get to dictate the end of the half.
Spokane. Chance to get 56 points in the first half. What do you think the chances are that you see an onside kick here?
I'd be surprised.
They will kick it deep. Misplayed by Dodd Masters. Loose football recovered by Arvell Nelson. That's twice Portland almost got a free touchdown.
There's been a lot of almost in
Yes.
the first half here for the Portland Thunder. Almost interceptions, almost fumble recoveries.
Look at Sid had to get out of the way. Big fella almost got in there. Yeah.
Were you gonna?
Illegal block in the back. Spokane number 56. Ball was recovered in the end zone by Spokane. That penalty is half the distance of the goal. First down.
It's been more this right rebound and slack net area here that I don't know if it's just maybe a little more taut off the rebound nets than the opposing side, but each team has had trouble fielding the ball on the returns to the camera right side. My GPS is off. I don't know if that's the south end zone or the northwest end zone or what, but camera right, that's the end zone they've been struggling with.
Carson Kaufman, and that is incomplete. The guy who had a chance at it was Andre Martin.
Martin's been out of the lineup for a while, but he's a player that Mike Hornsey likes.
Let's go.
Wanted to get him back in the lineup.
Here we go. We got Acre right, C back, 30 sail on one. Ready, quick. Shoot. No, hit.
Carson Kaufman getting his receivers right as they leave the huddle.
It's Amos. It's hit hard. Clock is ticking here. There we go. Get the timeout. They wasted about a second and a half. They now have 2 timeouts remaining.
You know, Andy Olson is willing to be very liberal with the clock. You guys saw it, you and said, very up close and personal, even at the end of the game. It was what led to Warren Smith, their rookie QB, no longer being in the lineup. Andy Olson is more of that old school arena football mentality, anticipating that scores can happen on any particular play. So he's willing to allow the clock to run.
Back left, A back 50, flood 1-9.
Okay. He has the mentality of the way when Sid played, which was touchdowns were almost assumed, and that's what he seems to think.
Here we go. Hey, we're going on 2.
Been fairly accurate here in the first half.
Yes, with his team, yes.
A back 50, flood 1-9 on 2. Ready, quick.
I don't anticipate we'll see the 9 route as the option Carson Kaufman takes here. Likely to see the hits picking up the first down.
Completes it. And there's Sembrano's got a no-time situation. All he had to do was reach the football over the sideboards and stop the clock in the final minute. That's a rookie mistake. A few extra yards, it's not important. They need the time.
Hey, if we complete it inbounds, look for the clock. Be ready for the clock.
Kaufman completing better than 70% of his throws now in the first half. 210 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Hey, we're going to go on 2 again, all right? We got to hang in there on 2.
Said the record for one game is 11 touchdown passes, correct?
Let's go.
Correct.
Okay.
Here we go.
He's tracking.
We got rack right.
He might
we're
throw
going
12
on 2. Rack
today.
right, A back.
The way it
50.
looks.
3-8-3 on 2. Ready, quick.
Zambrano on the post route here.
Trying to get him to jump. Kaufman off his back leg. Great defense. Andre Martin, he found the ball, knocked it into the front row.
Another almost play made, almost play. Anthony, you just talked about that. You had the one on the deep stutter move down the field. They could have intercepted that one. This one right here should have been picked off. Good defense, but your team needs plays to be made. You got to make those plays.
Under 8-3 on 1. Ready, quick.
Truesdale post route.
Kaufman. Sembrano makes the catch and stops the clock by giving himself up in the sideboard. So that stops the clock, 7.6 seconds. Certainly time for 2 plays.
We still have 1 timeout. Call anything you want. Call a sail.
Let's go. Trips left. Make sure Christian knows what he's doing. Trips left, A back 50, over, question hit.
Trips left, A back 50, over question hitch on 1. Ready, break. Corner then around.
Christian Wise He's played more defensive back in recent years in his AFL career than he has wide receiver.
They use their final timeout coming off a stoppage in play.
Hey, this is you.
That does change the play call here.
And I've heard Andy Olson and Carson Kaufman starting to talk a bit more situational football with the players on the field. Something that's incumbent upon the coach, and especially the quarterback in the huddle as well, reminding players of things like the mistake we saw from Zambrano a couple of snaps ago, getting out of bounds, knowing how many timeouts are remaining.
Question?
9. Delay 9.
Yeah, I want you to sell it. I want you to sell inside. Over question 9. Over question 9. Let's go.
All right. Here we go. We got trips left. A back 50. Over question 9 on 1. Ready, break.
This Portland defense has been under fire throughout the first half. Like the pyrotechnics we saw here at the Moda Center. Big opportunity for them.
Kaufman throws to the end zone. And it's incomplete. Amos got a hand on it.
We can get the time back.
Christian Rise ran a good over route. It was grabbed.
And they can add time here. It's a defensive penalty in the final minute.
Precisely what Dave Katai is talking to Andy Olson about. Offense has the option because of the defensive penalty.
Holding, defense number 24. Penalties after this is a goal, also an automatic first down. Spokane has exercised the option to add time back on the clock due to the foul against the receiver in the last minute.
It's another version of the Doug Plank rule. You just can't just commit defensive penalty after defensive penalty at the end of either half. So 7.6 seconds on the clock. They have time for 2 plays again. They have no timeouts left.
Someone's got to step forward. There's Frank Trotter, Casey Obi. One of these pass rushers talented enough to get home.
Nick Truesdale at the bottom of your screen, the former Cincinnati Bearcat. They're going to lob it up to him. He got hit by Andre Martin in the lower back. I'm not sure he would have caught it anyway. There is a flag down at the 1 yard line. If it's against Portland, they can put the time back on the clock again.
It's difficult to overthrow Truesdale. Carson Kaufman did accomplish it there, just by a smidge, just by a skosh.
Contact was made with the umpire prior to the ball being snapped.
It's 2.7 seconds left, and I thought I heard Andy Olson say, we're going to kick then, and here comes Taylor Rowan to try a field goal. Hasn't attempted many this year, 1 for 4. His longest made field goal just 19 yards. This appears it'll be a 23-yard attempt. Carson Kaufman is the holder. Rowan, an experienced kicker, 5th year in the league. Good snap, good hold. Kick is on the way, and he misses it badly. This can be returned. And a flag is down. I think we're going to have kick-catch interference. Have to give the player a chance to get the football. You cannot come inside the 5 yard line until the player secures the football. Taylor Rowan's assuming he's getting another chance.
Kick-catch interference number 44 in the kicking game. He was inside the 5 yard line prior to the ball hitting the ground or receiver. It's a 5 yard penalty from a 5. In addition, that's an extension for an untimed down. First down.
Well, Kyle Rowley's got one play. Make a little magic here. Can make it a 2-score game. I haven't seen an old-fashioned ball off the net, throw it up, in a long time. It seems that even late in games, they try to run more of a traditional play than the Hail Mary off the net.
It's too far for Rowley's arm to be able to get there. 48 yards away from the net itself, to be able to get it high enough.
Too what? Oh, yeah.
Rowley is 3 for 3, 51 yards and 3 touchdowns. 1 untimed down, and they don't have really tall receivers. All kinds of movement. Well, can he make the throw now with an extra 5 yards?
Well, the trajectory is what's part of the problem, too, because, getting it to the net from this distance is one thing, but you're really looking.
Extended by a play.
You're looking to get it to the net if you're going to go with the on-purpose net ball. To get it to the net at a height where it comes down at a trajectory where both guys can go up and maybe attempt to high point the football. I still don't think for Rowley's arm this is quite close enough to try and accomplish that.
Sure, Sid's thinking I could throw it right-handed from there off the net. One of the great lefties of all time.
Surprised Perry is the stationary receiver here with Brooks in motion.
Rowley. Oh, they're going to set up. They're going to little hook and ladder to somebody. No one tackled from behind. So the first half has come to an end. The Spokane Shock, flawless first half, 49-28. 7 first half touchdowns for Spokane. They got 2 interceptions. They turned into points. And let's go down to Sid Bonner's with Andy Olson.
Coach Olson came in, must-win situation for you guys. Great energy coming out. 49 points in the first half. You've got to be pleased with the start of this game.
Yeah, great start. Needed to finish that drive. I mean, we needed those points at the end there. We can't take a play off. People have come back so easily from this step, so we got to come out firing in the second half.
We've been talking about Carson Kaufman getting his start. How have you assessed his performance this far?
Done great. Done a good job reading the defense downfield. Good throws. Can't complain so far.
Appreciate it, Andy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Guys?
Thank you, Sid. Thank you to Coach Olson. Fun night here. Star Wars theme.
Yeah.
Guys are having a great time. We're going to send it to a guy having fun, Doug Kazarian in Bristol, after the break. And then we'll be back with second half action as Spokane looks to get a tough win on the road here in Portland. 2 3-8 teams still very much in the mix for the postseason. Portland won the first meeting. Spokane trying to even up the season series. And let's take a look at first half stats, Ant.
First downs overall from the two teams, 14 for the Spokane Shock, 8 for the Portland Thunder. We've seen both a ball control approach at times, trying to protect quarterback Carson Kaufman, but when the big play opportunities have been there, he has hit them to both Nick Truesdell and also Christian Wise later in the half.
Critical first possession here, a chance for Portland to make it a 2-score game. And Kyle Rowley was very effective off the bench in the second quarter. Came in and gave his team an immediate spark. He led them to 3 touchdowns. Dwayne Brooks is deep. He needs one more kickoff return for a touchdown to tie the single season record.
Got 6 total kick return touchdowns this season. All-time record is 7.
And he's gonna have a real chance here from just a few yards deep in his own end zone. And runs into 2 guys at the 13-yard line. And let's take a look at what Kyle Rowley did in the second quarter.
His success was immediate with an offense that needed a spark. Alex Carter hadn't been able to get it done throughout the first half. Rowley came in, finding Jared Perry on back-to-back possessions and back-to-back touchdowns. And Jarrell McCullough able to get in the end zone as well.
There's the quarterback comparison. That's the 2 interceptions for Carter pretty much closed the case. Rowley, not a single incompletion.
So far. And I don't want to sound overly negative about Kyle Rowley. I mean, like I referenced in the first half, he's been an Arena Bowl champion. He's led teams to a lot of victories earlier in his career. Very veteran signal caller. So between the two, between Rowley and Carter, he's obviously the much more accomplished quarterback. The question for Mike Hornsey coming into this game after getting to see a lot of Kyle Rowley throughout this year is whether or not Kyle Rowley can take his team to the playoffs and potentially try to lead them towards a championship at some point. He's seen so many fits and starts with Rowley in the offense under center and seen time to give Carter that opportunity. Carter was not able to answer the bell in the first half.
Rowley, heat was coming. Dwayne Brooks goes up with one hand. I'm not sure why he didn't go up with 2. There's a flag down at the line of scrimmage. That pass rush starting to get after it a little bit.
Illegal defense number 56. Outside rush. That's a 5-yard penalty and also an automatic first down.
That goes against Derek Summers, who had a sack in the first half.
Rowley trying to get his helmet worked out there. And you mentioned Brooks going up with one hand.
It's a little too casual.
Well, you know, he's a 5'10" guy. You would think that if he's going up with one hand outside his frame like that, he must have felt like he couldn't get to it with two hands. You can't extend further with one hand than you can with two.
Rowley to Perry. Good throw right on time. It'll be first down at the Spokane 17-yard line. And Jared Perry has been the main benefactor of Kyle Rowley coming into the game.
Well, Perry's the best route runner that they have at wide receiver. Perry's the type of player, like you referenced, that when it looks great, he looks like one of the best receivers in the Arena Football League, but he certainly has stretches where you see the easy drop passes and, you know, see some miscommunication between he and the quarterback.
Played his college ball at Missouri before they went to the SEC, and there he is. Touchdown, Thunder. Putting together a very strong performance tonight. 8 catches, more than 100 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Jared Perry.
Well, the scouting report on Perry is that if you're not going to put hands on him at the line of scrimmage, he's as difficult to cover as almost any receiver in the league. So we don't see a lot of press being shown from Spokane, and with the big leads, you sort of understand why. But with Perry getting hot, I think at some point you want to try to impede his progress.
Timeout here in Portland. Hold on, we've got a flag down at the 3-yard line. Dave Katea will go look in on it, get us a call.
Bit of a late shove there from Portland. Jaw jacket on the field between the two teams.
After the play was over, personal foul, 99 defense. Penalty be enforced in the first play after the kickoff. Immediate timeout.
Kyle Rowley.
Correction.
Very effective since he's come off the bench. All he's doing is throwing touchdowns. With the penalty, we'll see if Portland goes onside when we come back to the Moda Center. Sunday night in Portland. And they're celebrating Chuck's 40th birthday. Will the onside kick come here? Because they've got the penalty that will be enforced after the return, and they elect to kick it deep. Amos. Anthony Amos gets to the outside. And knocked out of bounds at the 16, but they will back up. And let's get some thoughts from our resident Hall of Famer, Sid Bonner.
Ari, I was talking to defensive coach Lee Johnson after coming out at halftime, and he said they got to get hands on Nick Truesdale and stop making mistakes in the secondary. They've got to be more aggressive and attack plays when they're there to be made. Said other than that, they just got to relax and play and give the offense a chance to get going.
Nick Truesdale not happy being worked on in the bench area. So with Truesdale on the bench, an opportunity for Braylon Bell, another big target, 6'6". Where's number 1? They throw to him. Ball was on time, and Bell cannot make the catch.
Bell's been a player who's had a lot of mental mistakes when he's been in the lineup. This obviously would have been a very difficult catch. Up above him, slightly behind his frame. 6'6", similar frame to Truesdale. We've seen them throughout the game working on that leg of Truesdale. You know, tough to say whether it's cramping or a strain or anything else. So, no guessing needs to be done.
Kaufman moving to his left, finds Amos. A flag is down. And somehow, Amos gets through traffic into the end zone. Touchdown shot. It's going to be a hold against Spokane.
Is offset. Replay the down.
That's a lucky, very lucky result of the play for the Portland Thunder. This is just horrible execution and a lack of effort.
Yeah.
I mean, there's red jerseys around the football, but getting there isn't enough. You have to finish the play. We talked about early in the game that there was the lack of effort.
That's a good move there by Marquise Jackson.
There's it. Patrick Afeef ends up having the hold to stop them from cutting the quarterback in half, especially on the back end. Portland's got to get this figured out. Starts with effort.
Zambrano the catch, Andre Martin the tackle. Marquise Jackson is the best pass rusher on the Portland team statistically. 5 sacks on the season, leads the team. They've got to start to get pressure because Kaufman already has a tendency to throw off his back foot. You can get into his face, you can create some opportunities through defense.
And the ball will flutter at times. Nick Truesdale has returned to the lineup for the Spokane Shock.
Movement, fumbled center quarterback exchange. Spokane gets it back, but it's 4th down. And a decision here for Andy Olson. It appears they will go for it. I thought he might consider a field goal.
And that Sam Tupula just appeared that he didn't get the ball up to Carson Kaufman from center. 4th down opportunity here for the Portland defense. They've been maligned throughout tonight's game so far.
First time tonight that Spokane has not converted on 3rd down. We'll see if they can do it on 4th down. Fans getting into it here. Kaufman buying time, throws across the field. Truesdale bobbles it, can't come up with it, and the Thunder get a defensive stop. And they are a touchdown away from making this a 1-score game. Momentum has shifted to the side of the Thunder as the fans have gotten into the game here at the Moda Center. And Truesdale, I'm sure, thinks he should have caught this football.
If he would have caught it cleanly, they were looking at a 1st down. Andre Martin able to rake up at the football. It's an impressive play about knowing where your body position is on a bigger receiver. He wouldn't have been able to make the play raking down at it because Truesdale has such a height advantage and did high point the football. Job raking up at it to knock it free.
Kyle Rowley is 106 yards and 4 touchdowns. 8 for 8, and it's Jared Perry again. Makes the guy miss and appears to be very close to a 1st down. Now, when you compare Kyle Rowley's numbers with a week ago, he was just 9 for 20, Anthony, for 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Rowley's had several games this season where he hasn't even completed 50% of his passes, as was one of those cases last week. Red flag, challenge coming here. Andy Olson.
Curious what he's challenging. At the spot?
It appears he feels that the ball was knocked free and that Jared Perry perhaps fumbled.
The ruling of down by contact on the field is being challenged by Spokane. The play's under further review.
We'll get another chance to hear Dave Kataya. We'll talk to our producer, the truck, Rock Rockley, go through the review process. Another call to the booth.
This is totally transparent. You'll hear Dave talk to our TV truck.
Okay. All right, what we're looking for is the ball coming out before the receive or the catch was ruled down by contact. So we're looking for any independent ball movement prior to the receiver being down after the contact. All right, can you go back on that? Do you have any other shots? Let's check that one. I can't see the ball. We need to see the ball and the knee at the same time. Do you have a 3rd shot? All right, go back on that one, and can you go frame by frame? We need to see the ball moving before that knee goes down. I'm losing the ball there. Okay, go back on that one, please. Frame by frame, we need to go slow on that. We want to see clearly, it has to be indisputable, whether that ball comes out or that knee goes down. I got the knee down, and I can't tell. He looks like he still has possession. Do you have any other shots for me? All right, we're going to stand on that.
It's certainly close. It's got to be indisputable video evidence to overturn the call on the field.
Field of down by contact stands. 1st and 10. Spokane is charged with a timeout and a challenge.
McIntyre using the term stands as opposed to confirmed because it wasn't conclusive as he went through the review process. It wasn't enough to overturn the call, but not 100% sure that they got it right either, so that's why the term stands is used as opposed to the phrase confirmed.
Rowley. Incompletion, looking for Ashford. I was beginning to think Kyle Rowley wasn't going to throw an incompletion.
There have been stretches in his career where he's gotten hot like this. It's been an impressive outing for Rowley so far tonight. We talked about, certainly seen good Kyle and bad Kyle so far in tonight's game. There's been a lot of good Kyle Rowley.
Rowley hit on the throw, still completes it. First down, Ashford the catch. 24-year-old rookie, playing at Northern Illinois, a school that has made a strong case to America that their football program is legit.
Courage under fire has never been an issue for Rowley. He knows that Terrence Taylor's coming in to clean his clock. He can feel it as the rush is getting home. Still able to deliver the ball with enough velocity to get it to his intended target.
1st and goal at the 9. Perry will be in motion. Rowley, good pocket, throws, and the receiver ended up on his backside. Perry was the intended target. It was almost picked off.
Perry didn't complain about it. There was some contact in the end zone, but perhaps even the contact was incidental, or he got his own feet crossed up because he didn't get up complaining to the official at all.
Dodd Masters had a real good chance at an interception.
Veteran player in the Shock secondary was actually a coach. Started coaching the defensive back for Spokane last season. In conversations with he and his coach Andy Olson, Rashard Dodd Masters decided to come out of retirement and return to the field.
33 years of age. Perry the catch, fighting, is he in? No. It's going to be 3rd and goal at the 1. Curious whether John Martinez will get an opportunity. Their enormous fullback at 325 pounds.
It seems like a good spot in the field to give it to him. Maybe you give it to him twice because this is the part of the field that's sort of been the Waterloo for Rowley throughout his career. A lot of red zone turnovers, a lot of his big interception seasons that he's had throughout his career, the bulk of those have come down here. Back in a neutral position, showing run.
They give it to Martinez, reaches it out, he's in. Touchdown Thunder.
Well, the key was there formationally. Martinez quite often lines up offset when he's a pass protector. He went to a neutral position behind the quarterback. So when he's home, the linebackers, the defensive line, they should be communicating with each other up front, anticipating a run play.
Extra point is up and it is good. 49-41. Longest drive of the game, 6:47 off the clock, and Martinez gets it in. Rowley's pumped up, and so's the crowd here in Portland. (49-41), Spokane in front. As AL Central rivals clash, as the White Sox square off against the surprising Twins. White Sox versus Twins, Monday at 8 p.m. on ESPN2 and Watch ESPN.
There's a lot of excitement in the city of Chicago for baseball right now.
Let's go to Sid.
Hey, thanks, Ari, down here with Colorado. Didn't get the start tonight, but obviously came in ready to play. How fired up are you to get in this game and stamp it?
I'm fired up. We want to get the win. We're still behind by 8, so that's where my eyes are right now.
When you were over on the sideline, was it anything that you were able to pick up that when you stepped in the game to make it look easy as it has for you?
No, I think Alex took the brunt of it. We come out and we see things that maybe we don't see on film. So I get the luck of the draw, and we're in a groove right now.
Good job. Keep it going.
Appreciate it.
Ari?
Thanks, Ted. Amos plays it cleanly. Anthony Amos up the sideline. There is a flag down. I got a feeling this one's coming back. Anthony Amos all excited. This is going to go against the Shock.
Flag on the play.
During the return, holding number 12 of the receiving team. Penalties after this to the goal. Fourth down.
Arvell Nelson, we talked about him in the open. Incredible versatility. Can play quarterback. He's good on special teams, but here he gets flagged for the penalty, and you can see it. A lot of jersey.
Didn't let him disengage. At some point, Matt Pierce is there engaging the block, but you can't continue to hold, especially with the hands outside there, just begging to get a flag.
For the first time tonight, it feels like there's pressure on Kaufman to deliver on this drive. They don't get points here. Kaufman, 14 of 23, 228 yards, 6 touchdowns. Completion percentage down now to 61%. Kaufman, the throw, and Truesdale can't make the catch, and a late flag comes in.
Marcus Jackson seems to think it's hands to
Foul,
the face.
hands to the face, number 8 of the defense. 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Casey Obie playing the Mac linebacker tonight.
Here we go. We got trips right, 8 back 50, over 7 hits on 1. Ready, quick.
Kaufman, Zambrano has it, touchdown shot.
How can you get beat in a cover 2 sky? Cover 2 with a corner out. They had the perfect coverage on. That ball should have been picked off. Kaufman out through the coverage, Big Ant.
Zambrano, while the ball's in flight, you can just see him looking, waiting, wanting the football to come down, and it seems like it's up in the air forever because as he runs through the zone and the coverage is dropped, he knows there's an opportunity for a big touchdown for the Shock offense. Sort of cradled the football in ever so comfortably.
Taylor Rowan, unable to convert the extra point. The lead is 14. So now we've got Truesdale, 5 catches, 99 yards, 5 touchdowns. Zambrano, 7 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. And watch ESPN.
Was that ZZ Top in the initial shot out of the break there?
I think it might be ZZ Top 2.0. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think the other guys are a little further along in life.
The modern.
Yeah, the modern version. They're in the tribute band to ZZ Top.
That was the Honda Center last night.
Yeah. Let's get into the flow of tonight's game with Sid Bonner. Sid, please.
Well, from the start of the game, obviously Spokane was extremely dominant coming out of the gates, but they have slowed down the end of that first half. Portland took over. This last drive, I think that offsetting penalty, or the penalty by Casey Obie from the linebacker spot was huge. If they could have held Spokane there, puts a lot of pressure on them. They're still in it. Kyle is playing great right now. They can keep the pressure on Spokane. It gets tight for Carson Kaufman, who's been sitting on the bench for a while, hasn't had to go through these kind of struggles yet.
Kyle Rowley, 10 for 12, 135 yards, 4 touchdowns. He has been working well with the man in motion, Jared Perry, who's got 144 yards and 4 touchdowns. And there Brooks again uses one hand. This time he catches it.
Way too casual for my liking. Like I'm getting sweaty up here watching that. Way too casual. What about you, Coach Ant?
I don't like it. I don't like it. The initial one from the previous drive where he had to jump high into the air, trying to back shoulder it, reaching up with one hand, kind of let that one go. I agree here.
When Sid referred to up here, he's on the field. Does that mean just because he's so tall? I didn't really get the reference. Is he trying to take a shot at me? Rowley. Tell you, when he's good, he looks like he is just carving people up. Because it does, you know, it's not always the prettiest release, but it's on time.
Well, it's a quick release. And so that's where it gives him just that extra beat to sort of diagnose what the defense is doing. The ball is out of his hands very quickly. We saw it last night in the game on ESPN2 there at the Honda Center, where the quarterback position trying to have the diagnosis of the play equal the execution physically, and it just takes a little bit too long sometimes. Rowley's got that quick release.
Rowley. Brooks! Touchdown Thunder. There is a flag back at the 15-yard line.
It's on the defense, guys. It's going to stand. This is going to stand, and he
Holding
came.
offense, number 70. Penalties after. This is the goal. Repeat first down.
See McCullough on the ground now for the Portland Thunder. He's having to be helped off the field. But another quick read, Dwayne Brooks, while he hasn't had a kick return touchdown in tonight's game. Here now devoting himself to the pass. And there again, it's not a clean pocket, but Rowley willing to stand in. He didn't take a big hit that time, but there's traffic around him.
You got to feel he came into this game with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, not getting the start. When he came in, he was fired up to get going and try to show why he should be out there. And this is what makes you mad about Kyle Rowley.
Exactly.
When he plays like this.
Exactly.
Maddening.
Because there's been several times in recent years where he's been pulled from the lineup after not playing well for a few weeks. He comes back in, responds to short spurts. But he's got this type of ability. He's been an Arena Bowl winning quarterback. He's won at the AF2 level as well, won championships.
Rowley. And that's incomplete. Kyle Rowley's still the all-time leader in passing yards for the Spokane Shock. I think a lot of people think it's Eric Meyer, but it's still Kyle Rowley, and Eric Meyer is not going to get any more Shock numbers in the near future. Can Kyle Rowley rally the team and come up with a fourth-quarter comeback? It's been a long grind, still some work to do, down 14. We're coming back with the fourth quarter, AFL. It was 42-14 at one point. It is now a two-score game, Portland with the football. Portland outscoring Spokane 13-6 in the third quarter. Big problem for Spokane this season has been in fourth quarters, as they have been outscored 162-108 in fourth quarters this season. Rowley, first play of the fourth quarter. Nice touch! Dwayne Brooks. Good open field tackle there. I thought he was going to cut that across the field.
The fear of the deep pass and the depth in the secondary is what leads to Brooks being this wide open. The field corner is going to have a certain level of depth, but the middle safety, in this case, Mike McMillan, ends up playing so deep because Jared Perry's been getting behind them over and over again. Perry runs the top off the coverage, and that allows Brooks to be open on the wall.
The toss to Martinez. And Martinez is put into the sideboards by Derek Summers. He acted like he was at USC. Do you see the way he took the pitch and actually kind of like rounded it a little bit? Like it was tailback U at USC.
13 out of 16 in tonight's game. 4 touchdowns for Kyle Rowley, the former Arena Bowl MVP. Been a hot night since he's come into the lineup.
Rowley throws, and Perry is held, and McMillan will get called for the penalty.
The defense number 26. Penalties after this is the goal. There's also an automatic first down.
Jared Perry's got a bit of a strut to him right now. He seems to feel that he's got Mike McMillan figured out. That matchup there in the middle of the field, that's tough duty. Perry gets in and out of his break so fluidly.
Very good route runner. Sid, what do you got?
Big hand. I don't know if you're watching this, but Jake McDonough is going up against some of the best D linemen up.
Yes.
He's a D lineman going against D lineman playing offensive line, doing a pretty good job for Kyle Rowley, battling up front. You see him there posting up.
Rowley all kinds of time and finally decides to get rid of it.
So like you mentioned, he's battling. You know, he's certainly not, he's not a superior pass protector. And he has given up some heat on the last couple of snaps. When you're putting a defensive lineman on the offensive side, it's the best you can do. Perry, like a little hold again there from McMillan. Kind of got away with it. Ball was going to the other side of the field. There's going to be a bit of jostling in the secondary. A little bit of that go, especially when the ball goes away from that receiver. But Jared Perry has been hot again this week.
Rowley.
Guys, they're playing combo coverage down there where the first guy comes off, they're just passing off. The outside receivers being locked down on the wall. The two insides are being combo. They got to run some kind of double over route. Two guys to the same area. That's how you get some separation and get open.
Jeff Richards is playing the field corner 23 for Spokane. He's got a very long frame. And so to be able to come up, especially down here in the red zone where there's less space for the receivers to operate, to come up and be able to press that man on the outside, it allows him to eliminate an area of the field.
Rowley, Perry, no place to go, and it's going to be 4th and goal. Fair to say the most important play of the night coming up for Portland. They want to have a chance to come back. They need a touchdown. What do you guys like here?
But they don't have that jump ball sort of targeted wide receiver. They've got a diminutive quarterback in Rowley, so that's part of what makes this area of the field so difficult. I think now that they've got it on the outside hash, on the college hash, I would like it if they had an opportunity to run sort of a lead play, but that would have been better third down play as opposed to 4th.
Absolutely. You got to throw the ball here, Ant, but maybe a double move, some kind of squirrel route, hour route, inside and back out.
Rowley, the throw, and Richards runs into the receiver. Where's the flag?
There's no flag. That's a combination coverage. He's sitting there waiting as the ball's coming. I think the ball's going right to him. Didn't read the coverage. That's good combination coverage there.
So Rowley and Portland cannot come up with points. Spokane with the football, up by 2 touchdowns. Here comes the ball, and it appeared Richards got there a hair before the ball. We will debate when we come back. Well, 2-score game. Spokane breathe a little bit easier, still lots of time, almost 11 minutes to go. And guys, did you think there was pass interference there, or do you think that it was a good no call?
I did. I thought it was a good no call because the receiver was the one who initiated the contact. The defensive back was just sitting basically in his zone, and the receiver ran into him.
Truesdale makes the catch, and for the first time tonight, he makes the catch and doesn't score. Thought for a second he might break away and
messing up his average. What's going on?
Disappointing.
Disappointing.
Makes the life of Carson Kaufman that much easier. You got that type of weapon or that type of physical tools.
Right. Truesdale now 6 catches, 111 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Fake the screen to one side, come back to Amos. Makes 2 guys miss. And fortunately for him, he didn't see that guy coming, but he had the football secured.
Get a little better throw there. That might go a little further, but going back to Truesdale, it seems like he is progressing at an astronomical rate here, Ari. We've seen him 3 of the last 5-6 weeks, and he's just come on like gangbusters, getting better in his routes, reading coverage, having an understand for what he's doing out there. And I mean, what a deadly weapon he is.
It's largely because he's had to. He's been forced into it by his head coach because of the injuries at the wide receiver position.
Truesdale the catch. Good patience, waits for the block, sheds 1 tackler, and gets to the 17-yard line. And this catch may have had a small degree of luck, but it sure was fun.
I'm still not certain that wasn't an interception. I don't know. I mean, if you stop it just at the moment that Pierce is diving, there's no way to think that's not an INT. It's somehow just moments later. It's not even like it immediately happened. A few moments later, it ends up in the hands of Truesdale in the end zone.
And Truesdale back in the bench area. He had to be treated earlier in the game. Kaufman throws, and that's Braylon Bell. Defender draped all over him, snatches the football. Touchdown, Spokane. Now things are getting ugly. We were blocked. I couldn't see what initially happened to start this.
Well, initially it was both players sort of jostling over the football, trying to claim who has possession of it. And then it just escalates from there with both guys with machismo and testosterone and a bunch of words that maybe don't relate so much to
And you add the guys with your size that come running in.
Yeah.
Don't even really know what's going on. They just want to jump in the fracas and see what's happening, start pushing and shoving and talking. They didn't even see what was going on. They just jumped in it.
Jump in the what?
The fracas.
Say what now?
The fracas.
Interference defense number 24. That penalty declined. Result of the play is a touchdown. After the play was over, personal foul defense number 7. That penalty will be enforced on the first play after the kickoff.
And guys, I got to tell you, it's pretty nice luxury. Truesdale comes out and you have a 6'6" guy to come in and back him up and go up and get the football.
It's a very physically gifted 6'6" guy.
And that's a heck of a catch.
It's a great catch. Maturity's still a bit of an issue at this point in the career of Braylon Bell. It's part of the reason he's not on the field more consistently. Mental errors. He's got a bit of a short fuse at times, as we can see here.
Yeah, it's not really celebrating his touchdown. Taylor Rowan on and converts the extra point. And the lead has grown back to 21 points. Take a break. Spokane has answered the challenge, a stop and a touchdown. Dwayne Brooks can make history. Weaving through traffic, flags are down. So is Dwayne Brooks. Portland certainly teased us. I thought they had a real chance, only down 8.
The personal foul carryover against Portland has been declined. During the return, illegal block in the back, number 8 of the receiving team. Penalties after this is a goal. First down.
The owner of the Portland Thunder, Terry Emmert, he's a guy who's as into this and as energetic for a newer AFL owner as anyone around the league. Just his second year here owning the Portland Thunder. Emmert international moving, so he's got resources brought to the league. He even did a reality TV show. It wasn't the one that was on AMC last season, the show called Sons of Thunder, that they air online or TV at this point. He's trying to find different ways to the team and be creative with how he gets the community to rally around him.
Number 67, contact with an offensive lineman. 5-yard penalty.
We got a good look at Terrence Taylor last week. But when the opponent is backed up, he gets even a little more amped up. Trying to get that safety. Gives up free yardage to the offense here.
The former Michigan Wolverine, Terrence Taylor. Say, Jim Harbaugh hasn't coached it down yet in a real game. He has made quite an impact this offseason. A lot of attention on the Michigan Wolverines and those satellite camps. Ventured into SEC territory. It was not well received. Rowley. That is going to be picked off. McMillan cuts it back, and McMillan still on his feet. Now he'll go down, and we're seeing both sides now of Kyle Rowley.
Well, we've seen both sides of him quite a bit in recent years. When he's got it going good, we've been talking about it throughout the night. He can come off as one of the hotter quarterbacks in the Arena Football League, but there's moments like this. And the thing is, you don't know exactly what the route combination was, and so it's not completely on Kyle Rowley if the receiver ran the wrong route. But these seem to be the moments that we've seen more frequently from Rowley than where he was earlier in his career.
Kaufman, and that's broken up nicely. Andre Martin makes the play.
Martin's had a good night. Overall, the secondary for the Portland Thunder has been torched throughout the game. They haven't played well at all. Osagi Odiasi is a very talented player, but he's been on and off the field. I'll tell you what, Andre Martin stepped in. He's played hard, he's played tough, he's finished plays, he's been able to get some deflections in very difficult positions from a body control standpoint.
2nd and 10. Quick screen to Amos. And Amos stutter move, and he is forced into the boards at the 19-yard line. Hold on. Another bit of extracurriculars following the play.
Sid, can you tell what's going on over there?
More shenanigans, Big Ant. More shenanigans.
Who? More who?
More what?
More shenanigans.
Did they get in the midst of something?
There's just a little emotion going on with Braylon Bell. He wants to be on the field. He's excited to be on the field.
I'll tell you, it's a good thing we're on a 5-second delay with your mouth tonight, Sid Bonner.
Wow! That is family fun right there. Just attack your brother right there. That's nice.
After play was over, personal foul offense. Number one has been ejected for a headbutt. 10-yard penalty.
Braylon Bell. Well, we also see the good and bad with him.
He's too physically gifted to not be on the field more than he is. But the intangible, the mental, the emotional aspect of being a professional football player is part of what holds the development of Braylon Bell back. So not a closed-handed punch, but you know, we use the term mush at times. He sort of mushed the defender in the face. There's an anti-mushing policy in the AFL.
And we've got movement on the right side of the line.
False start offense, number 66. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Seabass Field is the place to be Saturday as the Jacksonville Sharks host the Cleveland Gladiators. Two of the premier teams in the American Conference battle for playoff positioning. 7 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network.
Keep this skinny. We got trip right, arm back, 8/8 on 1. Ready, quick.
Third and long, hold everything. We got a penalty.
Lay game offense. 5 yards, 3rd down.
Third and 20.
Here we go.
Marcus Jackson, Portland's sack leader. They move him around in a variety of positions. Right now, Jackson did the zero technique on the nose position versus Sam Tupua. Can Jackson make something happen?
Kaufman delivers. Wow, Christian Wise. He got hit. Clanton, that is the hit of the night.
Grant was known as a big hitter when he was at Mississippi State.
And Christian Wise is still not okay. Wow.
I mean, this was a titanic blast. DeMond Glanton. It's a clean hit. Doesn't hit him above the shoulders. Doesn't lead with the crown of his helmet. This is just pure physical ferocity on the football field. It's good to see Christian Wise getting up and able to walk off the field under his own power.
I'm not sure if he knows what state he's in, but I'm impressed he can walk off on his own.
Certainly want to do that machismo that we mentioned earlier. Hopefully Christian Wise is okay. I mean, good grief. That was about a 6.9 on the Richter scale.
I'm putting that all on Carson, putting that ball high and inside, man.
I was waiting for that. 4th down. Kaufman looking for Arvell Nelson, incomplete. Portland will get the football. They continue to fight. And Glanton gets a lot of credit for the stop for the Portland Thunder.
The stop for the Portland Thunder and potentially a little extra life in this football team. Second stop of the game for the Thunder defense. Got torched throughout the majority of tonight's contest. Still showing some energy here, and he's been a defensive back. He's been a guy that's delivered his own big hits at different points as well. So he knows that's just a part of the game. Nothing dirty, nothing malicious.
For a guy his size, Big Ann, he's super tough, man. Really tough kid.
Rowley, and he was looking for the tight end, and he ran right into the official.
Fingers were stuck inside the face mask.
This is Bryson Kelly bringing the heat.
Watch the fingers. Watch
no,
his
Kyle's
fingers.
finger is legitimately stuck in there. He's
Ouch.
like, just hold on a second. Let me get it out of there.
That could have gotten ugly for a second.
Yeah. I think Kyle was trying to explain, I'm not trying to get in your face mask. Can I have my finger back, please?
It was his non-throwing hand, but I think he wants the fingers on that hand as well.
Yeah. Rowley, the throw. That's almost picked off.
And then almost caught.
Yes. On the rounded end zone, where do they divide if it hits the back wall or the side wall when it's a curved end zone? Where do I know where the ball is dead?
There should be a stripe in the back of the end zone.
Oh, I see
black
that stripe, yes.
Towards each end. That's where it divides, where the back wall begins in the curved end zone.
I just learned something. A really old dog can learn new tricks even at this age.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And
I was in the midst of thanking you if you'd allowed me to.
And you're welcome, America.
Wow. Kyle Rowley completes it.
AFL after that.
Anything goes?
Well, the hashtag is catching momentum.
Yeah, is that still not trending yet?
It's not fully trending. There's just nearly 2 minutes left. It would be good to see a bit of tempo from Portland right now because you're down 3 scores. There's enough time to get enough possessions in to still climb back into this game, but some tempo needs to begin happening.
Jared Perry, the little flip throw and the touchdown. Ashford gets it to go. We've seen that one before. It's in almost every AFL playbook.
It's a nice play call from the mad scientist, Mike Owensy. Executed at the proper time. You put the fullback back in that neutral position. Little ball handling in the backfield draws the attention of the defense towards the boundary side. Then they overreact on Perry. The flip at the end. The play at the end of the first half that was supposed to be the flea flicker that they just completely botched. This one in a way makes up for it because they ran it so beautifully.
Extra point is up, and it is good. It is a 14-point game with a minute to go. All of us, all 3 of us, have seen teams overcome a 14-point deficit in the final minute. So don't go anywhere. What other tricks does Coach Owensy have up his sleeve? We'll find out after the break. For a road win in one of the toughest places to win in the AFL, in San Jose, taking on the SaberCats. New Orleans, San Jose, Friday, July 10th at 11 Eastern on ESPN2 and on ESPN. Here comes the onside kick. Slow dribbler, and Rory Nixon, risky, steps up, secures the football.
He gets an attaboy because he made the catch. It's probably a bit more aggressive than you really want a lineman to be in that scenario.
We take a break. 58.8 seconds to go. I think we got a little of our own conversation. Just a little bit got on the air.
Talking X's and O's.
X's and O's, yeah. Good. 14-point game. Arvell Nelson in a quarterback, and in the final minute, the team with the lead has to gain at least an inch. Otherwise, the clock stops. Arvell Nelson, a much bigger, more athletic quarterback than the starter, Carson Kaufman.
Well, they have to gain positive yardage, at least an inch.
I figure that's the smallest they can measure. Want access to every AFL game at once? Go to arenafootball.com.
Box. It's a 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down. As a result, the positive yardage does not exist because of the penalty.
So go ahead and go to arenafootball.com and click on AFL Live for online broadcasts of games around the league via the ESPN3 video player. Or if you're on the go, download the Watch ESPN app to your mobile device and keep up with AFL action as it happens.
I will do that.
You do that.
Well, don't we all?
But it's late on a Sunday night. You'd have to be catching up on games. I believe this is the final game of the weekend.
So if they gain a millimeter, then the clock would stop?
They would still, a millimeter would count. I'm just not sure that they can measure that. Because, you know, the chain gang is not an exact science.
Well, the chain gang is measuring yards.
And that creates a bonus and becomes a 10-yard penalty.
I notice you're getting just a tiny bit more difficult here at the end of the broadcast. I know you've been through a lot today, getting a new suit.
It's a very emotional day.
It's a really emotional day for you. Are you gonna be all right?
The place I bought the suit from really took care of me. I mean, and I'm not easy to buy off the rack, but they were able to cut a couple of things, get some stuff in position.
You're not easy to get off the rack, really?
Yeah, really?
Oh my goodness. Really?
To buy off the rack.
Yeah, shocking. Kaufman's looking for more. Sembrano, touchdown shock. Little exclamation point.
A little icing on the cake. But a very nice performance, Carson Kaufman. It's not one of the best defenses he's faced this season. Came out. Played at a high level.
Extra point is up, and it is good. 69 points tonight for Spokane.
Love you, family. Happy Father's Day, Pop. Love you.
Not satisfied with just running the clock out. Carson Kaufman decides to go for this supreme jugular apprehension, snatching the throat from the Portland Thunder secondary.
Sembrano has put together a monster evening. 8 catches, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I thought you were going to count on the dance in the end zone.
But I know you're really, I let you handle all the, arts and leisure and dance parts of this because you're much more gifted in those areas.
Well, this is about as good as we've seen Carson Kaufman in quite some time. 9 touchdown passes in the game tonight. The thing of beauty about his execution is that the reads are consistent, the toughness is there, and the teammates believe in their quarterback when he's in the lineup. When he had a 32, 328 yards. Just in the second half alone, 3 of those 9 touchdown passes have come.
I didn't get hit all night long.
If you believe it or not, 7 out of 12 with 3 touchdowns is him slowing down in the second half.
That's one way of looking at it.
I think Coach Snyder might be in Manhattan, Kansas right now, his old Kansas State head coach. Probably liking this.
And Dwayne Brooks will not get an opportunity. It appears Dwayne Brooks will not set the record tonight or tie the record with 7 returns in a season for touchdowns.
Do you think Coach Snyder is awake at nearly midnight in the Central Time Zone? Hashtag AFL After Dark?
I'm not that familiar with his sleeping habits, but if I had to guess, I would think he'd be up watching his former player, showing support.
I like it.
Coach Snyder's that kind of guy.
His name's on the stadium. I mean, he can maybe even switch the time zone in Manhattan, Kansas if he wants to.
Wow. Rowley steps up, throws, and completes. Call it a gain of 6. Sid, what do you have for us?
All right, just thinking about back to this game, the ebbs and flows of what's been going on tonight, and watching Kyle come in and be Kyle. He's played well in spurts. He's done some good things, but when it's all said and done, they had a chance to get back in this game and possibly take a lead and win it. Weren't able to get a stop. Their struggles continue on the defensive end, and it's just been that kind of year for the Portland Thunder.
A very benevolent response from Cedric there about the proceedings this evening.
Was that a word you were really hoping to get in tonight?
Well, you got it in last night, so I just wanted, to make it the theme of the weekend. I mean, we've been together both nights.
We've got
I like a good theme.
We've got 31.4 seconds. Are there any other words?
I was wondering, Sid, could you pronounce the word that's spelled F-R-A-C-A-S for us one more time? Come on, Sid, you can do it.
We believe in you.
Arthur, leave me alone. Back up, Fracas.
Oh, that's great.
I prefer Arnold.
Arnold, Arthur. I like Aaron for you as a nice touch.
Surprisingly enough, I get that a lot.
Yeah. Have you ever been called that on the air before?
Present company excluded?
Present company excluded.
Oh.
Yeah.
Probably. I've been called worse.
This AFL After Dark thing does a whole new wrinkle for us. Late starts, West Coast.
The fans are digging it. It's lighting up Twitter. Not that you would know.
Rally downfield. That was some kind of a shot at me that I'm a fossil, that I'm not on Twitter. I'll take it. You've told me before I would not enjoy it, so I took your advice.
You would?
Yes.
Oh.
I like everyone to be nice to each other.
Twitter is not the place to go for that.
I like everything to be warm and fuzzy.
Can't wait to see you and Derek Ross.
You got to think long and hard before you put something out there in the space. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I don't see you doing that.
No.
Twitter screw.
Yeah.
Should we recount the Derek Ross exchange from last night?
I mean, if you really want to get into it, I was trying to give a compliment to Tommy Taggart, and somehow it offended one of my all-time favorite players.
Oh, now he's one of your all-time favorites.
Yes. That's right.
It's not what it sounds
Well, that's just not correct. I love Derek Ross. He's the greatest running fullback in AFL history. And a great player. All I was trying to say is I think people thought it was going to be a quantum leap backwards, and the Taggart has come in and done a very nice job. And Philadelphia, I think, believes as a team that they're better this year than they were last year.
You've just been able to do something a lot of politicians don't get to do. You've been able to revisit the topic and explain it with more depth.
Thank you. Jared Perry, great effort, touchdown Thunder. What a night for Jared Perry.
A couple of the great Spokane pass rushers ran into each other in the backfield. Derek Summers and James Ruffin able to get up, shake it off.
Now the real question is Derek Ross listening at AFL? What is it, After Dark? What are we again?
It's called a hashtag.
Okay, hashtag.
AFL After Dark.
At AFL After Dark, thank you. Somebody better get him the memo. Uh-oh. Carter, he can make something happen here. He gets close, but doesn't get in.
Trying to put his mark on the game late.
Gotta do what you can. Jared Perry, the night he won't forget. 12 catches, 170 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
He's been known to have his moments where he puts up numbers such as this.
Well, it's interesting that he's paired up with Kyle Rowley. You've got two guys who, when they're really good, are scary good, and when they struggle, not so pretty.
Well, last week it was 9 catches, 150 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Perry. He's got a touchdown pass in every game he's played. This is the 8th game he's played for the Portland Thunder this season. And we built tonight as the game coming in, two teams, identical records of 3-8, a must-win type of atmosphere for both ball clubs, looking at the potential for getting playoff seeding. So we thought that the Spokane Shock would come out with this victory. We'll see what it leads to, because there's been multiple games, and Andy Olson talked to us about it. They felt like they should have defeated the Arizona Rattlers. They'd had a few key moments that went against them. You know what happened last week against the Las Vegas Outlaws.
All right, we could assume that Spokane wins. They're 4-8. And keep in mind, they will have one more game against Portland at their place. And they're very good at home, Spokane. So right now, they have a little bit of an edge in the race for postseason. That was a towering Truesdale at 6'7" could barely reach the ball.
You can't land in the front row, man. You got to give your guys a chance.
It's difficult, Seth.
Spokane's schedule, not easy. San Jose and Arizona both at home, and then still have to go to Cleveland, which is a difficult place to play. The Portland Thunder schedule is even tougher. They've got a very tough road to get into the postseason.
The LA Kiss are playing better football.
Yes.
That's certainly no Passover.
Marvell Nelson. All right, what will you take away from tonight's game, gentlemen? Ted?
I really think Spokane's a pretty good team. They're good in all phases when they're playing consistent football. They're doing that. They're dangerous as anybody. We've seen them 4 times this year already. They've been pretty good in most of those games, but this game they got off to a good start.
There's enough potential offensively for the Portland Thunder to threaten a lot of teams around the Arena Football League. They have got to get it figured out defensively if they're going to try to make a playoff run.
This was a lot of fun on behalf of our entire ESPN crew and my friends Sid Bowder and Anthony Herron. I am Ori Wolf saying so long from Portland, Oregon. Final score, Spokane 69, Portland 54. Coming up next, ESPN FC. We hope everybody has a great night. Take care from Portland.